Reporting in progress. And I'm going to share my screen. So welcome everyone. My name is Jonty Yamisha, and we are here on September 22nd. This is our second formal class to learn Circassian, but the first real class where we're going to get into our method and our teaching approach. By the way, I am a horrible multitasker. Research has shown that humans are bad multitaskers. Men are worse multitaskers than women because women know how to raise children and do amazing things that men can only dream of. So if you see me a little distracted, it's because I'm looking to see who's joining the lesson. And I'm also learning how to use Zoom and making edits to the PowerPoint slides in real time and looking at my study notes, my teaching notes. So bear with me. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And let me know, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it a good size?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even better.
We're going to take a little bit of a different approach. This is still an experimental type of process. And so we're going to start a little bit more basic today. We're not going to get into Cyrillic alphabet. We're going to just use transliteration. Let me see if I want to be able to see as many of your faces as possible. Like I may have mentioned last time, there is a high degree of interactivity in the class. I highly encourage you to turn on your camera. If your camera's off, that's fine. The most important thing in this class is that you have a comfort level. If your camera is on, I may call on you. I may talk to you. I may ask you to participate. If your camera's off, I will take that as a sign that you are not ready, willing, or able to participate for whatever reason. No explanation required. Okay. So remember the rules. When I introduce a piece of factual information into the story, I'm going to say class, and you are all going to say sit. So class.
Sit.
Sit.
Oh, come on. What is this? Sit. It's just like, okay, you're begrudgingly just coming along for the ride. Where's the enthusiasm, guys? I'm about to tell you an amazing story about this little boy. All right. So class.
Sit.
Sit. Okay, good. I like that. So when I tell you a piece of information, what I want you guys to do, corny is good, guys. Trust me on this. Okay. I'm a certified Circassian. I want you to say, ooh, right? So class.
Sit.
Mir salas. Mir salas. Mir salas. Mir salas. Ooh. Okay. So mir, this is, right? This is. Sala is a boy. Actually, let me use my, oh my God. I'm going to tell you guys a quick joke real quick, then we'll get back to the class. An American, a European, and a Circassian are all captured. They're all in the army. They all get captured by the invading forces, and they go and they tie them all up and they go to torture the American guy. And he says, after 5 minutes, he breaks, he comes back, goes, I told him everything. I couldn't help myself. They torture the European guy. After 7 minutes, he cracks. I told him everything. I couldn't help myself. They torture the Circassian guy, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. They say, this guy's not going to crack. We're going to get rid of him. He comes back to the other soldier. They say, how did you keep your silence? He goes, they tied up my hands. I couldn't talk. Okay. So mir, right? Mir means this is. This is. Anytime you see mir, anytime you hear mir, this is. Okay. It's one word. We do not use the present tense to be. It's just this is. Mir. All right. The word for boy is sal. Okay. If you want to practice pronouncing these, that's fine. You don't have to. But if you do, mute yourself, because right now I'm just explaining. Okay. So sala is a boy. And in this dialect of Circassian, so we're doing the Eastern dialect of Circassian, when we are making an affirmative statement, a positive statement, when we are answering a question, okay, even if we're lying, when I say it's factual information, it doesn't have to be factual in the sense that it's true. It just has to be a statement, right? Mir salas. We add us to the end of verbs and nouns and adjectives, most words that we use. So class,
Sit.
mir salas.
Ooh.
Okay. So everybody understand the concept?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
The most important thing we understand, we understand the concept and we feel comfortable and we're having a good time. All right. If we're not having a good time, let's all go home. Life's too short. Okay. So
Shanti,
now,
I have a quick question, Shanti.
Yes.
Should we be writing these down?
you don't have to, you're free to. These slides are all available to you. You can go and look at these slides at any point in time. You can even skip ahead and see the changes that I've made. So you're free to take notes. You don't have to, and these slides are all available to you. And this video recording will also be made available to you after the class.
Gentil, one more comment maybe. Can we also all as a class say it, at least the sentence one time so we can hear each other saying it, like repeat after you, because I teach also on Zoom and I love when students, repeat after me.
Yep.
I love hearing their voices. It's
Yep.
like
So
I
we
teach
will,
that. Can
we
you
will
do
do that, Lydia.
that?
The way that
Okay.
the method the way I went back and rewatched the videos from all the TPRS university classes that I've been taking. I got to be honest with you guys. Last class, I was like, I got this nailed. Then I went on stage and I was like, oh my God, I forgot everything. So one of the pieces of advice is script everything, stick to the script. And then once you feel comfortable, you can deviate. One of the other rules, or one of the only rules in TPRS is you have to introduce a basic minimum of information before we can start engaging. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're all just parroting one another, and we're just waiting for our turn to produce sounds that we don't actually understand, as opposed to having very simple conversations where we actually use the vocabulary in context and we say things that are not necessarily on the screen. So we will get there, but the reason I'm not doing it right now is for those reasons. Okay. So class,
Sit.
mir salas. Salem yitzer narch. Salem yitzer narch. Okay. So in the first sentence, we know that boy is sala. Now I'm saying salem. Why did I say sala? So now I'm saying salem. It's a grammatical detail that you don't need to worry about. Think of it as me saying that at the end of sala is kind of like saying the boy, right? It's not exactly like that, but I don't want to dwell on grammar, but some people, it might bug them like, why is this going on? So I just want to call it out so we can move on. Salem yitzer narch. Okay, so in this sentence, y means his, okay? And the other thing is in Circassian, we don't have a pronoun for he or she. He, she, it's all ar, right? And so he, she, it, his, her, or it's always y. Could be a boy, could be a girl, it could be an animal. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It could be a little baby. We're not sure what it is. It could be an inanimate object. Y means it's, okay? So, and then finally, the last word here is tsar, and it means name, okay? Salem yitzer narch. Okay, so class, class, okay. Sa, I, sa. Salas. Salas. Hawa. I'm going to introduce a new concept. Robots. So I changed the story. Okay. So class,
Sit.
Class.
Sit.
Okay. Now remember, inta is yes, hawa is no. Inta, everyone like me. Inta together. Inta.
Inta.
And when you say inta, I want the thumbs up. All right, everyone. Inta, inta.
Inta.
Good. And when we say no, we say hawa. Hawa.
Hawa.
No. Hawa. Okay.
Hawa.
So, class,
Sit.
Sit.
sasa robot.
Hawa.
How the
Sasa robots. Sasa, I changed the story. I'm a robot. Sasa robots. Inta, inta. Sasa khajabs.
Hawa.
Awa. Sasa robots. Sasa robots. Sasa robots. Sasa robots. Class,
sit.
look at your screens. Ahmed Varoqa. Laura Ahmed Varoqa.
Hawa.
Varoqa. Ar Sala. Hama robot. Sala Hama robot.
Ada.
Alas. Ahmed Alas. Sasa robots. Sasa robots. Adiga just sasa 3 hours to me sasa robots. Awa Ahmed. Ahmed Salas. Mas'alar the Zettler, the boy that we see. Let me admit this. Okay. Mas'alar the Zettler, the boy that we see. Arnart. Abiyitsarnart. Enta. Shalem yitzar narch. Shalem yitzar Samuel. Shalem yitzar Samuel.
Hawa.
Hawa. Shalem yitzar narch. Enta. Shalem yitzar narch. Nart. Mas'aler does that clear? The boy that we see on the screen. Nart. Shala.
Inta.
Nart Shalas. Nart Khajabs. Hawa. Nart Shalas. Sasa Shala.
Hawa.
Robots.
Wow, robots.
Sasa robots. Okay? Don't forget. Sasa robots. Class.
Sit.
Class.
Sit.
Ahmed Varoqa. Salas.
Inta.
Varoqa Salas. Awa. However, Lydia Khajabs.
Inta.
Class.
That's a hijab.
Sit.
نغص بساعته وخوي ليديا خجمس نخش سيديش وو يجري وسالش ليديا. Oh, I just realized, if any of you caught on, in Circassian the word for boy is sala, the word for young is also sala. So I just spoke to Lydia and she said, am I a girl? And I said, yeah, you're a girl. What other word would I use? I said, you're still young. But if some of you are listening, you might have thought I said, of course you're a girl, you're still a boy. Sala means young and it means boy.
And that's what I love actually about, the languages, different languages, that you learn these ideas. How, guys, first of all, it's a genderless sort of language, right? Or gender neutral. It doesn't have he or she. And secondly, that Sala can mean a boy and a young. So you can say basically a young girl would be hijab Sala.
Yeah.
Wow. Doesn't that blow your mind? That's some of the things that blow my mind about languages, different languages.
Yeah.
Hijab Sala. Wow.
Yep. So, class.
Sit.
Lydia Sala Hama Khajabs. Sala Hama Khajabs.
Khajabs.
Lydia Khajabs. Class.
Sit.
Lydia Khajabs.
لا
انطا. Class.
ست
Ahmed Khajabs.
حوا
Hawa. So we see this new word on the screen. Okay. Class.
sit.
What do you think sit means?
What?
What? Exactly. It means what? Okay. So class.
Sit.
Ahmed sit. Ahmed Shala. Hama Khajabs. Ahmed Shalas. Ahmed Shalas. انطا
معلش
Pej. Class.
Sit.
ست
Sit.
معلش
وهو روبوت
وبالروبوت.
وبالروبوت
Okay. Punch. Ahmed.
Sit.
What's sit? What's
Sas
it?
Alash.
ووش عالش أسلان بشقاز what was it?
سسي شعالش.
ووش عالش نور إدريس ليديا ست
ليديا خجبس
هاج ساسا خجبس
حبو روباتش
ساسروباتش انطا أراش عاتشا خت class
ست
sa خت sa ست سيتسر خت sa
Wow, Janti.
ساسا جانتيش هاج class
Sit.
ست
sa س جانتيش
أوه
سيتسر جانتيش
أوه
once Yamiz,
Sit.
explain to me what's going on. Where are we in the story? Tell me something about some of the characters, their characteristics. Just explain to me what you think is going on.
Sure.
In Circassian.
Sure. Mirsh Ala. Mirsh Alash.
Shalem
Narch.
Yitzar Sit.
Shalom Yitzar. Narch. Janti. Wow Robach.
Pej.
Ahmed Alash.
Ahmed Shalash. Pej.
Lydia Khajabs.
Hunch. Margarita, what's going on in this story?
شعلش
Who's Shala?
نعرت
Nart. Nart Shalash.
شعلش يانتي روباتش
Sasorobach. Arash.
سسي سيخوا
Say again.
سسي سيخوا
What do you- What with those? Okay, so you introduced a new chapter of the story. You are a person. You are not a robot. I am a robot, but you are a person. So you are. Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Or let's stop there. Inal, what's going on in the story?
Mirsh Alash,
Mirs Alice.
Shalom Yitzir Narch, Wowi Roboch,
Sesarobach.
Roboch Yitzir Janti,
Robot Yitzar Jantish. Pej.
Mir Ahmad Yitzir is Ahmad, Margarita no.
Margarita tsukhsh.
Tsukhsh.
George.
ده
Khat nart.
نارتش عالش
Nart shalash. Pej. Brandon. Shalem yitzar sit. You're muted.
سألم يتسر نات.
Shalem yitzar narch. Shalem yitzar narch. Nta harash. Maya.
Sit.
Sitsa.
Wawe robach.
Sasorobach. Nta harash. Nart. Hawa. Sasitsuh.
Sasi.
What was the
Nta.
question?
What?
Sa. Sitsuh.
Suk.
How?
هوا
Sasorobach. Zishoma wopsha sasorobach.
Wow, robots.
Sasorobach. Okay, so I asked you, am I a person? Sasitsuh.
Hawa. What would it be?
Hawa. Sasorobach.
هوا
Sasorobach. Ntarash. Kanshawa. Zanshawa. Excuse me. Zanshawa.
Sit.
Wosh ala. Hamakh jabs. Wosh ala. Ahmad Khwadu. Hama Wakhjabs. Lydium Khwadu.
Say it again. It was cutting in and out.
Wosh ala. Like Ahmed, or Wakhjabs. Like Lydia.
Or wawutsu, like Margarita.
Or Wawitsu.
Or wow, robot. Yeah. Gentil Khwadem.
So, okay, explain to me in English. What? Give me 3 statements that you understand in English about what's going on in this story so far.
Okay. Well, so Mirshalish.
No, use English. It's fine. You can use English words.
well,
Don't worry about looking at the
that
screen.
part-
In your own words,
Yeah,
explain to me what's
no.
going on.
We are saying what we are in
So,
regards to
Yep.
boy, girl, person,
Yep.
robot.
so in the story, we've established that I am a robot. I'm a robot. So therefore, I'm not a person, right? Margarita is a person. Ahmed's a boy. Lydia's a girl. My name is Janti. There's a boy in the story, and his name is Nart, right? And then other people, you know, they're saying yes or no. They're agreeing or disagreeing. They're telling us their names. You know, those are all kind of other characters in the story. But the main character is Nart. I'm a main character, and there's other characters we've introduced. Ahmed's a character. Lydia is a character. Margarita is a character, right? So that's the story that we're telling. Okay, so which of those is the, yes, Brandon?
Can you also write on the, or annotate the word for girl and
Jebs.
I guess yes and or no?
Yes, give me 1 second before I do that, because I'm going to use a cheat sheet first, because I have that all figured out. There we go. Okay. So, Zanshawa, wusalas. Class,
Sit.
Sit.
class.
Sit.
Zanshawa, shalas.
Oh.
Zanshawa, wusala.
Nata.
Inta, Pej. All right, everyone, Pej.
Pej.
Correct. Okay,
It's
Pej. Omar, sorry. Omar. What was ala? Hamakh Jebs. Yes, Brandon.
right. One more pointer too. So Can you slow down a bit and point to the words that you're using?
Yep. Good point. Good point. So, Omar, what was ala? What was ala? Hama khajabs.
ساسيش آلش.
What was alas? What was alas? Class.
ست.
Sit.
Class.
ست.
Ah, Omar's alas.
Oh.
Sasas ala.
How?
وبروباتش.
Sasarobach. Pez.
Robot.
Sasarobach. Okay. Yes.
Yes,
question?
I have sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if I want to ask you, is this correct? Is this true? Can I say like Pej or Arpej? Like, does that work?
Yes. So if you wanted to say yes, absolutely. So if you want to say, is this correct? You could say Murpej. Is this correct?
Murpej. Okay.
If you want to say, is that correct? You would say Arpej.
Ar is like that as well. Okay.
Ar is also that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's not on the screen, but ar can mean him or her or it. It could also mean that.
Or you can just get away with just saying one word. Paj.
Yeah. Yeah. If he's asking if something is correct.
Yeah, it was for the question form.
Yeah. If it's a question form, it'd be hard to say just paj. So it's better to say murpaj, arpaj, if you're asking the question.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we're going to pause the story for a minute. Any questions at this point? Is anybody, and it's fine if you are, put up your hand using the emoticons or whatever. Is anybody feeling lost? Okay, Brandon's feeling a little bit lost. I'm going to come to Brandon in a minute. Noor and Jan, okay. Is anybody feeling overwhelmed? Is that part of being lost?
No, I think the only thing that may seem a little confusing is when you ask the questions, you add like M to it or like some other terms. When you use certain terms that we learned in the slide, you add like M or something that may be a little confusing, but I guess as you keep asking the questions, we start to understand what exactly you're asking.
Yep. So what I'm going to ask then is, I see the chat is running as well. So I would like to know how one spells you are, which sounds like, okay. So when people feel lost or anybody wants me to pause, okay, just go like this. Just go like this. Okay, I'm watching everybody's screen. Don't worry about using the Zoom controls. Don't worry about fidgeting with it. Just literally put up your hand like this, and in half a second, because I keep going back and forth between my PowerPoint slide, it's actually a Google slide, and the screen. As soon as I see it, I'll stop and I'll give you the opportunity to stop me and say, hey, you're going too fast, or you garbled something there. I'm not sure why you're doing this. So I'll stop. We will move collectively only as fast as the slowest among us moves. And we do not want to leave anyone behind. Okay. So Brandon, I saw that he felt like he was a little bit lost. I want to give him a chance to, he's absolutely the person with the least experience in this language. Most of you probably have something in the background. So Brandon, let me hear your feedback. What can I do to slow down or add more context or explanation?
I guess I can't quite recall exactly when now, but I guess just during those, I can also agree during those times when you're asking questions as well. I sometimes I'm scrambling. It's like, what exactly are you saying? Okay, it takes me some time.
Okay. So I'm going to make more of an effort to use my mouse to be clicking on the screen. And actually, that'll force me to slow down my speech as well. So that's two things I will do that will help to address two things I'm hearing. Okay. And I think Noor and Jan, you guys also felt like you were overwhelmed or there's too much. Tell me what's going on in your minds.
Yeah, just like slowing down, like showing what you're saying would be useful.
Okay.
And kind of also like after, because sometimes I don't get it, like maybe if I'm, never mind. I just realized what I'm saying was already answered.
Well, you can say it again. Maybe you have a different way of explaining it to me. The more times I say stuff, I always say it a little different and it sinks into your brain. So the more times you guys ask me questions, every single one of you is going to ask the question in a slightly different way, and it's going to sink into my brain. And part of my job is to help you guys take command of this language and reclaim your language and reclaim your identity as a Circassian. And the only thing that I ask in return is you guys keep asking me questions, because that's going to make me a better instructor. So Jean, please, if you have a question, even if you think somebody else asked it, I would really like to hear it in your own words.
Yeah, kind of like, as everyone was saying, kind of just like showing or explaining what you're saying, like what words you're on.
Okay, we will do that. We will do
Also,
that.
I think it will be helpful if we go over the personal pronouns for I, you, and he and she. Sa, wa, ar for he and she. Yeah? So this is the genderless pronoun ar.
Yep.
Both he and she. And also, I get that you don't want to introduce grammar at all, but it's helpful just to explain that here in the first person, sa, sradash, sa, skhajabs. What you add here is a prefix, a little prefix. Same as wa, w, sradash, wa, w, khajabs. But in the third person, we don't need that prefix. Ar, sradash, ar, khajabs, ar, tsuhsh. Plus that sh at the end, that makes it into a positive, right? So sas sradash, hawa sas khajabs, wa sradash, hawa wa khajabs, ar robots. That's maybe going over personal pronouns a little bit here, more, pronoun in a pronounced way, I guess. Well,
yeah, no, that's valid. And we're not against grammar, but the view of TPRS is grammar should be taught in context, and we shouldn't take more than 5 or 7 seconds to explain a concept. If we're in context, we should be able to explain the concept in 5 or 7 seconds. If it takes longer, then we're probably throwing too much at the students.
Yeah, just using these terms like prefix here in the beginning and suffix at the end. You have to add those, okay?
Yep.
Right, and that's it. That's it, I guess. We don't have to.
No, I think that's valid. I think that's valid. So let's spend some time on this page, okay? And I'm going to start the story again. And what I want to do, I think now we've kind of, does everybody here know what an Etch-a-Sketch is?
Yes.
Okay. So my son, I just bought him an Etch-a-Sketch, and he's shocked that it has moving parts but no battery, and it has a screen but no battery. And what I showed him is that if you are patient enough and you draw, all these horizontal lines, and then you draw all these vertical lines, you will expose all the glass and you can see what's underneath. I see the Etch-a-Sketch there. Yep. So that's the way that's part, this is, I've never heard TPRS say this, but this is my view. This is part of what TPRS is trying to do by throwing so many different angles of the story at you, by repeating it so many different ways, by asking you guys so many different times. We're almost like we're taking this Etch-a-Sketch, which has this screen that's completely gray, and we're clearing it up. We're moving one little line at a time, but it's very methodological. So we're clearing it all up so that what you're left with is clarity. Okay, so that's part of what we're trying to do. So what I'd like to do here is spend a few minutes on this slide. We're almost going to start over. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but it's my attempt to make sure that this information is solidified. All right. And again, part of the reason we're doing this is in a traditional setting, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 15 vocabulary words on this page. So in a traditional setting, and I'm not knocking a traditional setting, to a certain extent, I prefer self-study. I'm almost never used a teacher to teach me any of my languages. But in a traditional setting, you would have some explanation of grammar. You'd see a dialogue or two. And then after the class was done, your teacher would say, go memorize these 15 words, right? And you might use flashcards. You might write them 20 times. You might review them every morning and every night. And that's not what we're doing here, right? The goal of this method is to get this content locked into your brain. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, you know, you're going to see like some dude walking down the street and you say, "Alice," right? Or you're going to see some, you know, you're going to see your mom or your wife or your sister and say, it's just going to pop into your brain and it's going to tickle you. And you're going to smile outside and inside that this information is not something you learned. It's something that's wired in your brain now. And it's wired in your brain, you will not forget it, right? So that's my little diatribe. Let's spend some time here.
Someone calls you and say, you say, sit automatically, right?
Yes,
Sit.
yes, sit, okay. Or if you have a dog and you say sit, you're like, wait, am I telling him to sit down or am I asking him what he wants? Right, okay, class.
Sit.
Class.
Sit.
Sa. Oh, wait. So now I got to slow down. Robot. Robot. Okay. So sa means I. Sa means I. It also means me. And we use it the same way. Okay. Wa means you, one person you. In some languages, there's a different word for multiple. If you're from New Jersey, use, right? So a lot of you are from New Jersey. In Circassian, there's a different word. If you're talking to more than one person, this is just one person, wa, okay? And then ar is he, she, or it, okay? Class,
Sit.
okay? Does everyone see Ahmed in the video? Wearing a green shirt and a hat, okay? Ar alas. Class.
Sit.
Mir alas. So now we're back on the screen. Mir alas. Okay. Pej. Then the arza. Means pej. Okay. Alam yitzer narch. Alam yitzer narch.
Pej.
Okay. So class.
Sit.
Robot.
Nta.
Robot. Class.
Sit.
Khajabs.
Hawa.
Robot. Ahmed Khajabs.
Hawa.
Ahmed Alash.
Nta.
Class.
Sit.
Ala. Hamid Khajabs. Question, robots. You guys can't even remember that I'm a robot. How are you going to learn this language? Come on, guys. Come on.
Trick question.
That's a
robots. Okay. Class.
Sit. Oh, what's up?
Lydia Khajabs.
Nta.
Lydia Khajabs.
That's a Khajabs.
Haj. Okay. Everybody feeling comfortable with these words?
Nta.
So I'm going to try something. This is kind of a novel concept. Brandon and I brainstormed this. I believe, I don't know how many of you there are right now. It's not easy for me to see. 24. Okay. What I'm going to do, well, that includes me. I'm going to ask everyone to take a screen snapshot of this slide. Okay. Does anybody not know how to take a screen snapshot on your computer?
So,
George?
Okay.
So are you on a Windows machine?
Yeah, it's in that.
Okay. So go to your start menu where you have that little search bar.
Yeah.
And just start typing snip, S-N-I-P, snip.
Snip. Yeah, I got the screenshot tool.
Yep. So you can use the snipping tool, the screenshot tool, to take a screenshot of this slide, anything you want.
You can also use the annotate, by the way, method from the view.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, okay. I thought it was a function of Zoom specifically, but yeah, I can use like the screenshot tool for anything really. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I want you to take a screen snapshot of what's on the slide. All right. And I'm going to organize 8 rooms with 3 people apiece. All right. And I'm going to give everyone 3 minutes, 1 minute per person. And I'd like you guys to try speaking to each other using these phrases, okay, asking each other questions, right? And just practicing. Don't worry about goofing up. Don't worry about making mistakes. But I really want everybody to spend at least a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, trying to produce some of these sounds, trying to use this tool to communicate with the 2 other human beings that you will be dropped into a room with. All right. So there's a little experiment. Let me figure out how to do this now. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to go to breakout rooms. All right. I'm going to do 8 of them.
My laptop's about to die. Can I just join back real quick on my phone?
Yeah, go ahead. All right. We're going to give Noor a minute because otherwise he'll be locked out.
So we are practicing the sounds.
You're practicing speaking to each other.
Okay.
Okay. So let me admit him back in. And we're back to 24. Okay. I'm going to give him a minute so he's fully connected. Okay, fully connected. We're going to break out. I'm going to set my stopwatch here. Give me a second. Clock. All right. We'll do 3 to 5 minutes. This is going to go faster than you might think, or it's going to be a lot slower than you might think. So we'll see how it goes. I'll see you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. I'll be in one of the rooms. So will Lydia. Okay, go. Open all rooms. Let's see. Oh, how do I? Oh, there we go. Hello? Omar? Narzan? Okay, so we for the purposes of the video, for posterity, we went into our breakout rooms and we did some practice, and I actually gave you guys 7 minutes. It was a total of 7 minutes. It probably, for some of you, it might have felt like 2 hours, and for some of you, it may have felt like 30 seconds.
That's right, 30 seconds, yeah.
30 seconds.
I needed more time.
So as I said before, I'm going to formally end the class in 2 minutes, but I'm going to stick around for up to 10, 15 minutes if people have questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about, culture, language, history, anything. The floor is yours. But to be respectful of people's times, how did you guys like that little thing that we did, the breakout rooms?
Oh, fantastic. I had a great group. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it was great.
I had the best group in my opinion.
It was me and Nuri. Lives 5 minutes from me.
I had my best friend in my group.
Yes.
You guys didn't speak Circassian though.
Oh, we did. We
Don't judge.
did.
We speak a Circassian the entire time.
He told me where he was in school. I said Dana, Wishiptawar, Dana, like where his school.
We're going a
what
little
school is
overboard.
that, you know, sit schoolum. You know.
Good, good.
Yeah, I think every class we should be sent to breakout rooms.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's
Yeah,
funny.
I
'cause
like the breakout rooms.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad to hear that because we have in this class 20, let me find it. We now have 22 participants. That includes me. We had 26 in the first class. We have more retention than I expected. I've got 74 people registered for my Saturday class, and the registrations keep going up. So I expect 50 to show up. Part of the reason that I brainstormed with Brandon, these breakout rooms, it gives me scale, right? So the way the method works, instead of like giving everybody the chance to talk, if there's 50 people and everyone gets a minute, we're done. That's the hour right there. So by having the breakout rooms, it gives me the ability to have larger classes. And frankly, it gives me a little bit of a break because it is draining to try to be as entertaining as possible during this whole time. Anybody else? Comments, feedback, concerns, good things, bad things? What else? Or even
one
more
thing I'll say
specific?
is, yeah, one thing I'll say is that I was actually very surprised. Zanshao did really well in our breakout room, and so did Gio, which is like, you know, for Gio, it's, you know, obviously he's Georgian, but this is very new to him. But the guys did really, really well. I think they were much more comfortable maybe speaking, but in the breakout room, they did really amazing.
Oh,
that was really nice.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I feel like breakout rooms give us more little like confidence to speak with each other because I feel like we get a little, well, I'm speaking for myself when I say I get a little embarrassed speaking in front of everybody. So I get like, I feel more comfortable speaking with like smaller groups at first before, you know. And I had a great group, by the way. You guys did amazing.
That's cool.
So my question is, when is the next class? When I'm going to see you all next time?
Well,
I'm loving it.
I do want to go there, but for our youngest classmates, Noor and Jan, I want to hear them in your own words. How did you, and if you don't like it, that's fine too. Don't feel like, oh, I have to say what everyone else says. How did you guys like the breakout room?
I feel like it was fine.
I don't know. I mean, I already kind of knew what was going to happen since I had breakout rooms for school, but
Yeah, I did those in school, so.
yeah, I do think it's good because like if you don't have the confidence, like Maya was saying, to like speak in class, to be like in front of everyone,
It's
like,
easier to talk.
hello there, whatever you want to say in Circassian. It's much easier to do it with a group of smaller fellow classmates.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to stick. I chose 3 because 3 is actually an unstable. Social science shows that the most stable group of people is 2. That's why you have like married couples or just couples. 3 is actually very unstable, and that's good for communication because you can't have one person dominate. You can't have a clique. So I'm going to keep going with 3 until we see something else pops up. We are scheduled to meet again on Monday. I'm still sorting out my marketing technology, but I will continue to send email updates, letting you guys remember an hour in advance that these classes are happening. I will send out the video recording link for this class as well. I'm not asking anybody for homework, but I am asking each of you to email me something you'd like to learn how to say in Circassian. It could be a phrase, it could be a word, it could be an expression, it could be a food, it could be, how do you say Batman in Circassian? Whatever, okay? Email me something you personally would like to learn how to say, or you've always wondered, or maybe I always heard this word and I never know what it meant. Email me, okay? And this is my incentive to get you guys to show up on Monday. I'm not going to share with anyone what you email me, but I will try to find a way to work it into the content that we're working on. Okay. And I will email you back, giving you some additional information if that's appropriate as well. Okay. All right. So let's see.
I have a quick question, Janti. I
Yeah.
guess before people drop off,
Mhm.
would it interfere too much with your other class if we tried to join on Saturdays as well?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Feel
Are
free to
they
join.
following on the like about the same speed?
We're going to go, yeah, same speed, same speed.
Okay. Thank you.
Is
You're
it
welcome.
also the same material as well, or is it
Yes.
different?
Same material, same material.
And are they going to be matching for our lesson, or like, you know, how we started lesson 0 on Monday or lesson 1 on Monday?
Nope.
Are they going to start lesson 1, or
They're going to start lesson 1. Well,
Okay.
they're going to start lesson 1. There's too many of them for me to go around the room, and I'm not sure all of them speak English that well.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So if anyone wants to drop, you can drop. There's no, we're past the time. I want to be respectful of time. You don't have to say goodbye. Just feel free to drop off. If anyone wants to stick around for the next 5-10 minutes, ask a question, share something, whatever, I'm here for the next 10 minutes until, 45 past the hour to answer any question or take any feedback you might want to share.
We can say within-show.
Within-show.
Goodbye.
Within-show.
Goodbye. Within-show.
I have a question if we can start asking her.
Go ahead, yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually like learning off your app, Optilingo.
Mhm.
Is there a specific way you think like, we can kind of mix both, or does it not matter?
Doesn't
Maybe
matter.
just kind of both, keep them both separated?
My suggestion, using my app will not interfere with this class at all.
Okay.
More comprehensible input is better. It's like it's like health. The more healthy, there's no one who would say you could be not healthy enough, right? So the more you get, the better. The accent and the dialect that we use there is identical to the accent in the dialect that we use here. There's nothing that would interfere. There's not any sort of, why are they saying it that way? Why are they saying it this way? If you are using the app, I used my app to get to a B2 level of Russian. So the app works. The app works pretty well. My suggestion, if you're going to use my app, and it's free, by the way, it says it's paid. Circassian is a free language. So if you see like subscribe or bot, just ignore it. Circassian's always free. No activation code, just go download it. What I do when I'm using my app is I listen to a 15-20 minute lesson in the morning, and then I listen to the same lesson in the evening, and I actually don't look at the screen. I don't read anything on the screen, and it works. So.
Well, I mean, the app uses that spacetime repetition mentioned, right?
Yeah, so the app will teach you, it's 100 lessons. Each lesson is less than 20 minutes. Each lesson has 15 phrases. So by the time you complete all 100 lessons, and we suggest doing them Monday through Friday and taking the weekends off, you'll cover 1,500 unique phrases, and you'll cover 1,200 vocabulary words. Those 1,200 vocabulary words will get you to an A2 level of fluency, which is enough to say anything you want, but not quite enough to understand what most people would tell you. There is a level 2 course that we're producing. But yeah, that's how you can use the app.
Can you, I'm sorry if anyone else has another question, but just relevant to what you said, what is that like B2, A2 levels, if you can explain them?
Yeah, so there is a standard of fluency. There are multiple standards of fluency for multiple languages. The European Council, or the Council of Europe, which is a little different than the European Union, has a format called the CEFR, which is the Common European Reference Framework. And the Common European Reference Framework also includes Russian, and it includes Turkish. So it's not just the European Union, it's the Council of Europe. In each of those languages, linguists from native speakers have come together and identified 4 levels of fluency. I'm sorry, 6 levels of fluency: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. C2 being native-like in command of the language, not necessarily accent. A1 being you can survive, right? And then everything's in between. Generally speaking, A1 gets you a working vocabulary of about 500 words. And every level thereafter, that volume of vocabulary doubles. So 500, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000. 16,000 words is what the CEFR says you need to operate at a native-like level. I've licensed the CEFR vocabulary data set. I'm actually working on a Circassian dictionary that's based on the CEFR data set. It is true that there are 16,000 entries, but there's only about 9,000 unique words. So in reality, a working vocabulary of about 10,000 words is considered by most field linguists to be native-like in terms of your command of the language. But when we say A1, A2, it's a European reference framework for measured levels of fluency. And Optolingo, my app, will get you to a very strong A2. My level 2 course, which I've developed, but I haven't had the time to hire the same actress who did the voice recordings for the level 1, will get you to a very high B1 and a low B2. You'll have a working vocabulary of about 4,000 words, which is enough to interact with natives and understand what they're saying and to be understood.
If no one has other questions, I have 2 more I thought of. Go ahead, Maya.
Hang on, I see 2 hands raised. I'm sorry. Let's do Nart and Haya, and then we'll do Maya.
Hi, so our first question is, how do you pronounce the word that I just sent in the chat?
Wabucha?
Yes.
What? But I don't know what that word means. I don't know what you're trying to say.
We had it in the first class.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
It was in the slide.
sit, and then this.
I know. Let me pull up the slide. Okay, so there are 6 question words. Let me share my screen real quick. Share screen. So now I'm showing you some advanced work. I'm going to work in Cyrillic later on. So there's sit, there's chet, there's dena, there's dawa, there's dapsha, and there's sichhacha.
Sichhacha, okay. And which one is this?
The sichhacha.
Sichhacha.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down real quick, and then you can ask the other question.
Okay, the other question was, how do you say God willing? Hamji am, alhamd hamji am, or?
So there's Circassian is a very subtle. Did you guys capture this?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen only because I can see your faces more easily.
Yes,
so in Circassian, I'm gonna just share with you guys, in our homeland, religion is it's a third rail topic. It's a hot topic. And of course, being a Syrian Circassian who lives in the United States, I take free license to say whatever I want to say. But there are some people who think we should use the word Allah because there's one God. And there are other people who say we should use the word Ta because that's what our ancestors said. And it also means God. In the same way that a Christian Bible written in Arabic will use the word Allah, right? Same God. So as a result, some people will say Alhamji'am, God willing. Some people say Hamji'am.
So we're both right.
We're both right. And then, I'll just say Inshallah.
Yeah.
I like Hamji'am. I don't know, because it's so unique.
Hamji'am. Yeah. When I'm in Nalchik, I say Hamji'am.
And that's what my grandma usually said. So that's why I thought it's Hamji'am, and not with saying that it's Alhamji'am, right?
Yes.
Both are correct.
Yeah.
And before I go to Maya, do you guys have another question?
We do have another question.
Last question. It's easy question. Instead of saying inta, can we say like aya or arre or
so Aywa is Arabic. Okay, Aywa is Arabic.
Not Aywa, was it?
Arre is Western Circassian. And if you want to say arre, that's fine.
Okay.
And that actually gets me to a point I was going to make. Language is fluid. language is something that is alive, okay? Grammar does not define a language. Grammar is a construct that researchers use to make sense of something that occurs in nature, okay? So my height, I was not born with a height of 5'8" or 68 inches, right? Somebody invented something called inches and they measured me, and that's how they describe my height. Grammar does not define a language. It's how we make sense of something that occurs in nature. So the reason I accentuate this is you might hear, that's wrong. This is right, okay? There's almost nothing that's wrong. There could be things that are just something that people don't say. It's not how the language is spoken. But if you've heard someone say something a certain way, by definition, it's correct. So in this, I'll give you an example. In this class, we're going to teach to a literary standard as taught in Nalchik, as taught in Qabardina Baqaria. So for example, if I'm going to say, I don't know, we haven't gotten to this yet, but if we're going to say, I don't know, I'm going to teach you guys sarqam, right? That's exactly how it's spelled, and that's how it should be spoken at a literary standard. My kids and my wife, they say something. It's correct. You would still spell it the way I pronounced it, but something, it's correct. I cannot say that my version is better than theirs. It's just different, okay? I would say sasa adigas, right? My son, I have no idea where he picked up this dialect. He speaks like my parents, even though we live 1,000 kilometers away. He says sasa adigas. That's also correct. That's also correct. There are people in diaspora and there are people in homeland who speak that way. And if you want to say are, even though that's a Western dialect, I got no problem with that. This is what makes the language rich. This is what makes the language grow. Okay, language is not something that gets locked in a box and looked at. Language is something that's fluid and flies. The way to keep our language alive is not by isolating it and saying and homogenizing it. The way to keep our language alive is by playing with it, right? Making it fluid and free. So I just want to say that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
So is Maya.
Yes. Okay. So I know that we aren't really going to get into grammar, which I also appreciate because like, once again, like I'd rather do like, you know, general thing than get deep into grammar. But in our breakout room, Omar actually had a really good, like, you know, I literally can't even speak English. I don't know how I'm taking Circassian law classes. Oh my God. So like a curveball. So you know how we were saying earlier in class how shala and shala is like young or boy. So he asked like what were hajab's shala, like, so when you are using adjectives in adika, would you use the adjective before or after the noun? Because I know in like different languages it varies.
The adjective always comes after the noun.
Okay. That was my question.
The adjective always comes after the noun, except this is not like, it's not a trick question, except when you're using a compound noun. So for example, little boy.
Yeah.
Sala thuk, right? So little boy in English, little boy. Oops, sorry. Little boy. The we say little, we say the adjective, then we say the noun boy. In Circassian, we say sala, which is boy. It comes afterwards. The difference, the only exception, it's not even an exception, is a compound noun like brick house, right? Where you're not, it is an adjective, it's not really an adjective. Like brick in English is, we could use it as an adjective. It's a brick house. It's a little boy, it's a brick house. See how the adjective comes before the noun?
Yeah.
In Circassian, we are connecting the word brick, which is a noun by itself, to the word house, which is a noun by itself. And we are saying it's a compound noun.
Got it.
Okay, that's you won't see that a lot, at least not at this level. But with that one, it's not even an exception. It's a footnote, but that's how adjectives and nouns work.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. I know we weren't going to get like deep into grammar. I was just curious.
Listen, we don't go into grammar because grammar is an abstract concept that describes how language works. But if you have a question about how language works, then we're going to explain it using grammar.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? You're all just lurkers waiting to see what other people ask, and maybe you can steal their knowledge.
I mean, we all learn through questions, am I right?
That's true.
We'll learn from everyone else's mistakes, not yours. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yamiz, yeah, Yamiz, what's up?
Was just wondering what level this course would get us to.
So that's an interesting question. On paper, this course, I don't know many classes that have completed the entire course. And the reason is that this course balances improvisation with formal structure. So, and there's always constant innovation. So using breakout rooms, that's not part of the course at all. When TPRS was developed 20, 30 years ago, Zoom didn't exist. This notion, this idea that I had to keep you guys coming back and to keep you engaged by asking you to email me something you want to learn how to say, it just, you know, it's going to put a wrecking ball through my course because I'm going to introduce a whole bunch more content. But I know for a fact that the content I'm going to introduce is content that's relevant and interesting and exciting and useful to each of you. And it's more important that the content's interesting and exciting and useful and relevant than it is that I'm going down a checklist of this adjective, that verb, so on, that, you know, whatever. So that's a caveat. The other caveat is that on paper, this course would probably get you to an A2, B1 if you went all the way through it. A lot of the communities that use TPRS, a lot of them have never finished the whole course because they have such a good time having all these little interesting diversions where they learn to say other interesting things. The German course that I'm auditing right now, we're basically creating a real live comic book where we have Sauron from Lord of the Rings fighting with Spider-Man, and everyone has their own little character that they play, and they're just having a kick-ass time. The third and final caveat is that what I said before about fluency is true. There is an organization called the CEFR, and they measure fluency along the 4 dimensions of language, which are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. However, the word fluency from Latin means to flow like water. And so if you have a comfort level speaking at a conversational level, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, can you get me this? I need help with that. If you get to that level where you feel comfortable and confident, you may not be able to pass a CEFR test the way a university student might be able to, but I'll bet you apples to dollars, you're going to be able to have a much more meaningful and in-depth conversation with a native speaker than the person who was book studied and passed that test, right? So in this class, my goal is not necessarily to prepare. I have a luxury that 90% of the people in TPRS don't have. I don't work for a school. Now it's a liability because they don't have any formal teaching training, but I'm not teaching for a test. I'm teaching for your enjoyment and your advancement.
Awesome.
Also, TPRS wasn't designed as an online course, right? So it requires in-person communication and partner work, group work, I guess, right?
Yep.
I can also answer that question as well from what I've seen from our classes. But this class is very different because I've never seen a class with all probably like majority heritage learners. And so you guys all have some bits and parts of the language that are already in your mind, but now it's just kind of doing this in a classroom setting. Because what happened with our other classes thus far, and I guess I've been in at least Portuguese and, well, I guess kind of doing my own classes for at least once a week, an hour a week for about a year, is that with TPRS in the beginning, you're going to be working a lot, so much, as Janti said, on speaking. You're also going to be working a lot more on, I guess, just really getting a feel for the structures of the language. What TPRS lacked for us in our classes was vocabulary, because we introduce as minimal amount of vocabulary to be able to acquire the structures and to get a feeling for the structures of the language. But of course, the students can always ask questions about, how do you say this? How would you say that? But then the teacher will keep on bringing you back to a certain structure or a certain verb that we're learning about. And then not until maybe about, I would say 3-4 months into it, we start moving faster and faster and being able to handle more language, handle more vocabulary, juggle more vocabulary, new vocabulary all at once. And then we're still finding out how far this can go. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there is an open question, as I firmly believe that TPRS is great for absolute beginners. I don't know what happens when you hit B1, B2. I'm still, in my mind, I don't know if TPRS continues to work. I actually have course material that I developed that I think could get you there, but it wouldn't be TPRS material. But for my own part, and this is actually part of the experiment that I'm doing with Hamid in the other class that we're doing. What we're doing is intensive reading. We're doing intensive reading so that you can get to extensive reading. So there's a view in language acquisition. So first of all, language learning is very different than language acquisition. Language learning is where most people fail because they're trying to memorize structures. Learning acquisition is like riding a bicycle. It's a subconscious process, and this information just gets embedded in your brain. There is a big view that extensive reading, pleasure reading, at a grade appropriate level for your level of comprehension is the fastest path to full fluency and mastery of a language. And the difference between extensive reading and intensive reading is if you see a word you don't know, you try to figure it out through context, and if you can't figure it out, you move on. And there's research out there that would suggest if you were to read 4 million running words, approximately 25 novels, you would acquire the language necessary to speak at a native level. And that's roughly 20 minutes of reading a night for 2 or 3 years. I subscribe to that view. But to get to extensive reading, you need a working vocabulary first. And so the dark side, as Paul Nation would say, of extensive reading is intensive reading, where you dwell on every single word and you try to pick apart what it means. Now, the reason that I believe that intensive reading is more appropriate for Circassian than extensive reading at a low intermediate level is because Circassian is a polysynthetic language. And what that means is that we construct words on the fly that you cannot find in a dictionary. So for example, if I was to say, can you help me? Could you help, or just shorten, could you help me? That is written as one word. So if you were to read that in a book, it would be, you'll never find that in a dictionary because the verb that's hiding inside there, the infinitive form of the verb is the apukun, to help. Wuqaz means, will you do it in my direction? Wuqaz the apukufinu, and then there's a suffix in there, could you do it? Do you have the ability to do it, right? Wuqaz the apukufinu. And then like if you're going to say maybe, wuqaz the apukufinu para. So because of that, it becomes very hard. And there are some words where you might combine multiple verbs in the same synthetic word, and you'll have multiple verb roots where the verb compresses down to one letter. Okay, so for that reason, I believe that extensive reading at a low intermediate level for our language is the fastest path to get to extensive reading. And so what Hamid and I are actually partnering up with, we have an American gentleman who fell in love with our language, and Hamid will read him a story. He will then read the story. I will then read the story and translate word for word root by word root, which is actually really interesting for me to because I can process a lot of this stuff. I'm like, how the heck am I going to say that in English, right? So I process word root by word root for him, and then I read it again to him, and then I give him what the actual translation would be, and then he reads it again. So it's reading practice for me, which is helpful. It's reading practice for him. It's translation practice for me, but it's also translation for him so he understands the context. So I apologize. I don't know if anybody asked that question, but I got there. So
yeah, it's a great example. That's will you be able to help me? So in English, it's like how many words? And then in Circassian, it's because of the prefixes that we use, like w, that's you. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So
okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you. And one comment, Janti, and oh, Brendan, thank you very much for your feedback. It's very helpful, actually, because I'm trying to understand. I mean, I teach German, Russian languages, but I've never taught Circassian as well. So I'm trying to understand, in and outs of this sort of language pedagogy, Circassian language pedagogy. And it's Janti, thank you very much. Also, I'm learning a lot. So, and what I was trying to say, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, today's class, I was kind of fearful. I thought you said last time that we will be going more slowly and spend more time on one slide. And pretty much we had one slide. And I thought to myself, wouldn't be that too boring? Like if you spent the whole entire time on one slide, but surprisingly, it was very, very fun. I don't know how that happened because I thought I was kind of fearful that it will be a little boring today, but it was the complete opposite of what I expected. So, and that's really mind-blowing. I don't know. Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, I feel like the big workout for us is that us as students, we have to produce the language. You guys are asking us questions or communicating with us in conversations, and we have to just like, is it yes? Is it no? Is it boy? Is it girl? Even at this beginning stage, it's very, I have to like really coordinate what exactly am I saying because it's all new to me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's processing bandwidth that's on your head, but it's funny because Lada, one of the members of our working group, Lydia and I are part of a 10-person working group. We meet every Sunday for a couple of hours to develop these materials and share feedback. She was like, one slide, there's 2 sentences. How are you gonna? And part of this is I scripted this out loosely. I went back and watched some of the videos. Craig has this great video where he says, here's one sentence, and it was Japanese, which he does not speak fluently. And he goes, I'm going to hit this sentence with 10 freaking questions. So he went through and I'm like, oh my God, this is the master. He is the Jedi master. So I scripted out 10 questions, right? And then the idea is we ask those 10 different questions in random order, and we're just looking for a one-word response in the target language. And then once we do as a group, I go person by person and I ask the same questions again, but I ask them in a certain way where I want you to give me a full sentence response. And I don't necessarily have the time to hit everybody, but that's why I came up with this idea of the breakout rooms, right? So yes, I was happy that we went as long as we did. And then when you go look at the slides, we actually, there's people who introduce this topic of gender identity and why do we have to talk about, who our genders are. So I said, fine. So I threw Terminator into it. First I said, so Nart, before Nart goes to Nalchik, Nart's going to Disneyland. Then the Terminator goes to Disneyland. Then the Terminator is shooting Mickey Mouse at Disneyland, right? Just to make it as outrageous as possible and to introduce different characters that are not necessarily me being a robot gets away from, genders and gets to human or non-human. And actually the reason I did that as well, later on, we're going to introduce the concept, Lydia, you know this, in Circassian, when you say what is something, there's 2 ways to say what kind of, and it's kind of like what and who, but you can never use who for something that's not human, right? So a robot, you would never say who. In fact, I had a really interesting conversation with my son's a native speaker of Circassian, and he talks to the Google Assistant all the time. And I asked him, do you think Google's a boy or a girl? And he used chet. So in his mind, Google's a human. Robots are Sept, right? Animals are Sept, right? but Google is Sept. So part of the reason I introduced the concept of the Terminator and me as a robot is because I slowly want to introduce that grammatical concept later on without making it a grammatical concept. So, Ahmed, man, you're the last man standing. You got a question?
No. I just want to say thank you. This was I'm just basically echoing everything that everyone has said. I agree completely. I thought one slide would be overkill, but the reinforcement definitely works. I do like the internalization of the language, because yesterday, I mean, the other lesson, there was a lot there, as Brandon said. And if you are coming from zero, it would have been really overwhelming. I mean, I at least knew the words. I couldn't read them, but it's so that I think we're kind of coming to a focal group, which I think, which I say like a focus. I think this makes sense. And I was impressed that you added, the robot, analogy in there as just to kind of break it up, and it made it much more accessible. So I'm excited. This is very cool. I think it's it's a great step too. So bravo.
Cool.
And with that, I'll leave you folks.
You having fun though? You enjoying it and having fun?
Absolutely.
That's the most important part. That's the most important part. Cool. Thanks, Ahmed.
You guys have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Just four. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that introduction of robot was a very good idea, and maybe to introduce some other characters, because are you a girl? Are you a boy? It's sort of very gender specific. I mean, I don't have any objection to being, a girl. That's fine with me, but it's just too, I guess, polar. Yeah, so bipolar, I guess. Yeah, but robot, so like a person or somebody else could be great. A cat or something. I don't know. Jadoo.
Well, actually, you know what?
Jadoo.
I want to introduce Hachakwacha, because Hachakwacha, it means animal.
What about Jadoo? Just Jadoo, I think it's easier. Ha!
Yeah,
ha
is easy, but so I'll get them all. But the reason I like Hachakwacha, it's such a fun word. Hachakwacha, like
it's really difficult.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Hachakwacha, but Jadoo is fun. Jadoo and Baja, all of those. Miss, like a bear. And Baja, the fox, something like that. Easy.
Yeah.
Let's get
you got my interest now. What is Hachakwacha?
Oh, great.
Hachakwacha? It's a fun word. Hachakwacha means animal, but it would be translated best as beast, but not beast in a pejorative sense, beast in a classic literature sense, like a beast of burden.
But Circassian use it in a pejorative sense as well. If a person is bad, they say hajakwaja.
Yeah, he's an
like
animal.
Behaving like a beast, like an animal. Hajakwaja.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have somebody be would it be like Siso Hachawacha?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great actually, to assign also roles. Somebody will. I know Zhang Shao, for example, he associates himself with I think he's a little uneasy with gender specific. He associates himself with what animal? I forget, in the Caucasus, with some animal, not wolf, maybe the Caucasian leopard or something like that. He knows that. It would be cool, like, to also introduce some of the animals, and people will be like Margarita, robots, says, I don't know, Bajas, Zanshao, whoever he's comfortable with associating with.
Yeah.
Or says hijabs, I can stay girl, that's fine with me. Okay, I gotta go because my family members already picked in.
All right, Uzinshu.
Uzinshu, Brendan Upsal, Uzinshu, Upsal.
Yeah, Upsal. So I think this one went better.
Yes, definitely.
It went better. And what I'm realizing is I need to learn how to be a teacher, and it's not necessarily about having a curriculum. It's about plotting out each class, and plotting out each class in keeping with the people who are in that class and what they want to learn.
Yeah, because you have your plan for where you could go, then you also are also receptive to whatever happens in class.
Yeah.
By the students.
Yeah. So, Well, thanks for coming with me on this journey. And if you want to learn how to say something in Circassian, you email me too, and I'll work that into the course if I can.
Okay, nothing's, well, I guess I already asked you, it came with the lesson. I asked you what was on my mind. Like, how do you say I'm not a robot? I'm not.
C'est un robot. Yeah, it's super regular. There's no exceptions to it. Well, for factual statements, you just add them. And there's different ways to do it if you're asking a question and if it's a verb versus an adjective. But if you're just answering a question back, I am not this, you just add to it, and it means you've negated.
Yeah. Yes. About that. I was thinking like, all I needed to know right now, that all I'm gonna take right now is you just add to the end.
Yep.
When that situation comes up, of when that rule changes, then I might ask you, or you might present it to us first.
Yep.
But otherwise, can I tell you some of my notes that I wrote down?
Sure. Let me stop the recording so the students, they don't need to be exposed to our teacher nerd fest here. Give me a second.